Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo 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 besimcha. Be the reason someone smiles. 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 Simba gedola, liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo liyo besimcha. Simba gedola, liyo besimcha.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
Ay, 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 good Shabbos. Ein di da Laila, ein di da Laila. Ay, 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 Shabbos Kodesh.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Elli. It is Friday, the 7th day of October, the 12th day of Tishrei. The Torah portion is HaAzinu, HaYom, Yom Shishi Shabbos, the 6th day, counting up toward Shabbos. And we will be learning the 7th Aliyos. In New York City tonight, you light Shabbos candles at 6:10 p.m. I know. And Shabbos will end Saturday night at 7:07. For candle lighting times in your neighborhood, please consult breakfastwithelli.live/Shabbos. Breakfastwithelli.live/Shabbos. And that will give you all the information for your locality. A public service of me. Yeah, it's my website. I set it up. We are approaching the holiday of Sukkot. I know, it's great, it's wonderful, it's exciting, and it's coming. It is Sunday night. That's right. I know, Sunday night is Sukkot. So we have a lot to get ready, a lot to work on, a lot to talk about. The brand new day-to-day halachic guide has come out. If you would like a link to that, please look in the first comment on Facebook and YouTube. And everywhere else it allowed me to comment. And if you need the link sent to you personally, please just contact me by message or by email, and I'm happy to send you that link. You can print that out before the holiday, and it's got a day-by-day breakdown of what goes on and what you have to do and what you have to get ready for, okay? So let us get started and make a bracha on tzitzis. Grab your 2 front tzitzis, and let's go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right. The next bracha, al divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
All right, the next bracha, Hareini Mekabel.
Hareini Mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, and now Torah Tziva.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Keilat Yaakov.
All right, now it's time to give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
Right, as you can see, I've posted the $1 a day receipt. We're going to get one of those every single day, I think. And this $1 a day receipt tells us that because of us, $541 went to Chabad of Sarasota and Manatee County, and that's pretty cool because they got hit by the hurricane too. So yeah, it's a good thing. All right, we're doing stuff now. All right, so it's now time to say the Shema. Are you ready? Hand over your eyes.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
All right, and that takes us to making a shahakol. Oh, what is this? I don't know if you can see it here. It's a little bit difficult to see. Let me move out this way. This is a picture of the Rebbe Sukkah out in front of 770. You know what? Yeah, somebody asked me, so I can show that to you really quick. Here we go. Do you see it? That's the Rebbe Sukkah right there in the courtyard. Yeah, they always put that up every year. All right. And, oh, what is that you say? Well, there's the public sukkah in the back on the right of 770. That's the public sukkah. That's where all the yeshiva boys eat. And then the one out on the grass area is the Rebbe sukkah. And yes, there's a rain cover on it. So in case it rains, you can't have that on. But in case it rains, and the Rebbe indicates to them that it's a little bit too wet to sit in the sukkah, although that I don't remember a case where that's ever been. They could close that, but I think the Rebbe always sat out there, rain, sun, snow, whatever, and yeah, so they mainly closed that for the elements when no one is in that sukkah, and no one goes in there except the Rebbe. So. Right. Blueberry yogurt, and I don't know what kind of coffee. Executive producer Brad, what kind of coffee do I have today? All right, ready? Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvaroi. Oh yeah. Well, whatever it was, it's good. It tastes chocolatey, mocha-y. All right. And that brings us to today in Jewish history. Minutes for tefillah. If it comes later, I'll play it for you. Okay. Today is the yahrzeit of Rab Avram HaMalach, Rab Avram the Angel, who passed away in the year 1776. No, that's not the musical that just opened on Broadway. The 12th of Tishrei is the yahrzeit of Reb Avram, who lived from 1740 to 1776. Not a long time, right? The son of Rabbi Dovber of Mezrich, and the study partner of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. He was known as Avram HaMalach for his saintliness and asceticism. All right. Shabbos is the passing of Rabbi Akiva Eger, if you know who that is, an outstanding Talmudist and halachic authority, and the passing of the Rebbe Maharash, the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Shmuel Schneerson, known as Maharash, which means Morenu Harab Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel was born in the town of Lubavitch on the 2nd of Iyar in the year 5594 from creation, 1834. His father was the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Lubavitch, though the youngest of Rabbi Menachem Mendel's 7 sons, it was Rabbi Shmuel who was chosen to succeed the father as the leader of the Hasidim in Lubavitch after the latter's passing in 1866. Now, 4 of the other brothers established branches of Chabad in other towns of White Russia and Ukraine, with the Maharash as their Rebbe. Now, in addition to authoring and delivering more than 1,000 Hasidic discourses called Maimarim, Rabbi Shmuel was extensively involved in Jewish communal affairs and traveled throughout Europe in order to penetrate and generate pressure on the Tsarist regime to halt its instigation of pogroms against the Jews of Russia. He passed away at the age of 48 on the 13th day of Tishrei. Shabbos is the day that Columbus discovered America. That's right. In 1492, Louis de Torres, a Spanish Marrano, was the first white man to set foot in the Western Hemisphere when he landed in the West Indies on Christopher Columbus's first voyage. All right. In the year 1747, Pope Benedict XIV prohibited Jewish converts to Christianity from giving their wives a get, a halachic divorce. Yeah, you're one of us now, right? Iraq invades Iran in 1980, sparking a war which lasted the rest of the decade. Several Western countries provided support to Iraq during the war. Iran always remained diplomatically isolated. Shabbos is the day that the city of Sodom was destroyed in 1712 BCE, and religious freedom granted to the Jews of Morocco in 1880. Operation Magic Carpet, which 50,000 Yemenite Jews were brought to Israel between June of 49 and September of 1950, was completed on this day, Shabbos day in history. let's see. Yep. Oh, yes, I forgot. The Maharash, Reb Shmuel, always said a very famous saying. The world says if you can't crawl under an obstacle, go over it. However, I say, lechatchila ariber, go over it in the first place. And that's become a very famous dictum in Hasidic circles. We are still saying Tehillim chapter 27. And we will say that a little bit later in the program. We will talk about Sukkot coming up. Right now, we are going to hear from Rabbi Manas Friedman, HaYom Yom, for the 12th and 13th of Tishrei.
In the HaYom Yom for the 12th day of Tishrei, the Rebbe writes that we are guaranteed by a covenant from above that any effort and any avodah that we pursue with wisdom and with empathy will never be fruitless. In the HaYom Yom for the 13th Yud Gimel Tishrei, the Rebbe writes that the Rebbe Maharash passed away on this day, the 13th of Tishrei, in the year 1882. His burial place is in the city of Lubavitch. The beginning of Igeres 22, Siman Chav Beis of Igeres HaKedesh, and its conclusion were not published in the Igeres HaKedesh in the original. It was printed in the Hatamim magazine, volume 2.
And later included in the Tanya. All right? All right. 60 days. High holiday season. Good morning, Al. How are you? Wow, it's been a while. All right. 60 days to a more spiritual holiday season, day 42, 43.
The journey continues, day 42. Joy of your soul. As we move from the sanctity of Yom Kippur to the joy of Sukkot, these 4 special days have a power to purify us and maintain that purity. The Medrash says that the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot is a time when the Jewish people are preoccupied with mitzvot. This one is occupied with building a sukkah, this one is occupied with acquiring his lulav. Thus, they continue to carry the purity of Yom Kippur. But the purity and sanctity of the days of awe now begin to be translated into joy. In the words of the Song of Songs, your left hand is beneath my head, and your right hand embraces me. The left hand refers to the days of awe. It's the left, it's Gevura. But the embrace of love connected to joy is the second half of the month. And what is joy? Is joy something that you create, that you fabricate, that you can acquire? No. Joy is the natural state of the human soul. Look at newborn children. Look at children at young age. They are naturally happy. They don't have to be given anything to be made happy. They have a natural exuberance. It's the sadness of their parents. It's the sadness of the world around them that begins to seep into and create disappointments and so on. So actually joy is not something you need to go find anywhere. You just need to get rid of the outer layers, and then you'll find the inherent joy of life, the inherent exuberance, the inherent zest and passion connected to life. So after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, when we did cleaning up and we tried to correct those outer layers and reach our deepest part of our soul, now we're ready to break out in dance and song in the celebration of Sukkot. So today ask yourself, do I feel a natural joy? Can I just find a moment? And that's the exercise of the day, to find a moment, a space where I can just celebrate who I am, celebrate that I'm alive, and celebrate the gifts and the resources given to me to make this world a better place. The journey continues, day 43. Lechatchila Ariber. Today is the 13th day of Tishrei. which this year corresponds with Shabbos. This day is the yahrzeit of the fourth Chabad Rebbe, the Rebbe Maharash, who passed away in the year 1882. And he was known for his famous statement. The world says that if you cannot crawl under an obstacle, try to leap over it. However, I say, leap over it in the first place. In Yiddish, lechatchila ariber. And this is so much connected to the theme of Sukkot. The 13th of Tishrei is always 2 days before Sukkot. Because the joy of the soul that we discussed yesterday is that approach. Instead of looking for methods and techniques how to be joyous, leap over it in the first place. Access your soul. Remember, materialism, by its mere definition, because of its mortal nature and its temporary nature, it creates insecurity. And you can never really find joy in material objects or even in money. It can be short-term, it can be sugar-coated, it can create the illusion of happiness. But true joy comes from the inner soul, from spiritual activities, from things that are eternal. Things that are temporary, by definition, are always going to drain us and wear us down because we always need more to find that security. The joy that comes from your soul is something that is leaping over it in the first place. So we have two choices in life. Are you going to choose material happiness, the short-term, instant gratification of a physical world? Or are you going to choose the eternal joy, the eternal satisfaction and contentment that comes from eternal and immortal values? So today, ask yourself, how much are you invested? How much of your life is invested in the impermanent things, and how many in the permanent? And the exercise is on this 13th day of Tishrei, when we have the lechatchila riber approach, leading into Sukkot. Embrace your soul's activities. Find a value, an eternal value, in helping another, in reading or being inspired spiritually, in uplifting your soul to a greater place that will be lasting and forever. Dare to do something different that's not the usual. Go beyond the ordinary into the extraordinary.
Wow, right? Very, very cool. All right, and now a word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidall.com.
PestProRidall.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidall.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to TarzaneGroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565. And order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at TarzaneGroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications. Logos, wall hangings, Judaica. And you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Ziva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Ziva Lanu Moshe.
All right, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar. And you can use this handy QR code right there on the screen. All right. We are doing Rabbi Sachs's Covenant and Conversation, and let's hear part 2. Come on, Rabbi. Come on. Gotta coax the computer a little bit.
The Ark of the Moral Universe. In majestic land of Jews in the Middle Ages, it sounds in the literature produced evil to this people. It sounds again in Jeremiah, Lord, you are always right when I dispute with you, yet I must plead my case before you. Why are the wicked so prosperous? Why are evil people so happy? It's an argument that never ceased. It continued through the rabbinic literature. It was heard again in the Kinot, the laments prompted by the persecution of Jews in the Middle Ages. It sounds in the literature produced in the wake of the Spanish expulsion, and it echoes still when we recall the Holocaust. The Talmud says that of all the questions Moses asked God, this was the one to which God did not give an answer. The simplest, deepest interpretation is given in Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, the song of the Sabbath day. Even though the wicked spring up like grass, they will eventually be destroyed. The righteous, by contrast, flourish like a palm tree and grow tall like a cedar in Lebanon. Evil wins in the short term, but never in the long. The wicked are like grass, the righteous like a tree. Grass grows overnight, but it takes years for a tree to reach its full height. In the long run, tyrannies are defeated. Empires decline and fall. Goodness and rightness win the final battle. As Martin Luther King said, in the spirit of the psalm, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. It is a difficult belief, this commitment to seeing justice in history under the sovereignty of God. Yet consider the alternatives. There are 3. The first is to say there is no meaning in history whatsoever. Homo hominis lupus est, man is wolf to man. As Thucydides said in the name of the Athenians, the strong do as they want, the weak suffer what they must. History is a Darwinian struggle to survive, and justice is no more than the name given to the will of the stronger party. The second option is the one I write about in my new book, Not in God's Name, namely dualism. The idea that evil comes not from God, but from an independent force, Satan, the devil, the Antichrist, Lucifer, the Prince of Darkness, and the many other names given to the force that is not God but is opposed to him and those who worship him. This idea, which has surfaced in sectarian forms in each of the Abrahamic monotheisms, as well as in modern secular totalitarianisms, is one of the most dangerous ideas in all of history. It divides humanity into the unshakably good and the irredeemably evil, giving rise to a long history of bloodshed and barbarism, of the kind we see enacted today in many parts of the world, in the name of holy war against the greater and lesser Satan. That whole belief is dualism, not monotheism. And the sages who called it Shtei Reshuyot, 2 powers or domains, were right to reject it utterly. The third, debated extensively in the rabbinic literature, is to say that justice ultimately exists in the world to come, in life after death. Yet, though this is an essential element of Judaism, it's striking how relatively little Judaism had recourse to it, recognizing that the central thrust of Tanakh is on this world and on life before death. For it's here that we must work for justice, fairness, compassion, decency, the alleviation of poverty and the perfection, as far as lies within our power, of society and our individual lives. Tanakh almost never takes this option, God doesn't say to Jeremiah or Job that the answer to their question exists in heaven and they'll see it as soon as they end their stay on earth. The passion for justice, so characteristic of Judaism, would dissipate entirely were this the only answer. Difficult though Jewish faith is, it has had the effect throughout history of leading us to say, if bad things have happened, let us blame no one but ourselves and let us labor to make them better. It was this that led Jews time and again to emerge from tragedy, shaken, scarred, limping like Jacob after his encounter with the angel, yet resolved to begin again, to rededicate ourselves to our mission and faith, to ascribe our achievements to God and our defeats to ourselves. Out of such humility, a momentous strength is born.
All right. That's very, very, very cool. All right. In the sixth Aliyah, let's get to that 1 second. In the sixth Aliyah, Hashem says he will turn his wrath against Israel's oppressors. I will make my arrows drunk with their blood. My sword will consume their flesh. At that time, when Hashem will avenge the blood of his servants, the nations of the world will sing the praises of Hashem. With this, the song of Hazinu concludes. In the seventh and last Aliyah of this week's Parsha, Moshe and Yeshua teach the song to the Israelites. Moshe implores the people, pay close attention to this. It isn't an empty teaching. It is our life, and with it, we will long endure in our land. Hashem then tells Moshe to climb up to Har Nebo, Mount Nebo, from where he will view the land of Israel from afar before he passes away. Here's HaYom.
Shvi. So the Shira is over. Moshe comes to Klal Yisrael and tells them the Shira, who the Hoshea Benun. Obviously, you're going to be bothered by how come he's called Hoshea over here. We know his name was switched to Yeshua. So I saw a Moyer Dekab from Mary Yechila Ostrovtza. He says that the Yud that Yeshua got was the Yud from Sarai. It was taken from Sarai when her name was changed to Sarah. Her name was changed the year before she gave birth to Yitzchak. She gave birth to Yitzchak at 90. So she was 89 when she lost the Yud. The Yud, the Medrash says, complained to Hashem, Hashem, I was part of the name of a Tzadekis, you took me away. So Hashem said, don't worry, you were the last letter by a Tzadekis, you're going to become the first letter of a Tzaddik. How long did Sarah live? 127. So for those 38 years, from 89 to 127, this Yud had this complaint, so to speak, on Hashem, that you took me away from a Tzadekis. Now, when did Hoshea become Yeshua? Moshe davened and for Yeshua and changed his name when they sent him a Raglan. That was in the second year after they left Mitzrayim. Then they spent 40 years in the Midbar. This now in Hazin was at the end of 40 years. So he now was walking around with the Yud of Sarai for 38 years. So the whole Yud's Taino that he was taken away from Sarai was for 38 years. Now he doesn't have any Taina anymore. So just to show that the Yud has no Taino, so it says Hoshea and it doesn't call him Yeshua. Not that we change his name back. After this he's called Yeshua. But just to show that the Yud's Taina for 38 years was paid back in full, that's why over here it says Hoshea. And it says, Moshe tells the Yidden about the Torah, Ki lo davarei kumikem, the Torah is not empty, and if it's empty, it's because you're empty, you don't know how to learn it, but every time you touch it, you're going to find new ta'amim. A lot of people make fun of gematrias. So for them, it says, Ki lo davarei kumikem is gematria 679. It's the same gematria as gematrios. That people say, what's a gematria? It's lo davarei kumikem. It's not an empty thing, and it has in it a lot of chachma. And then it says in Pasuk Nun, Hashem tells Moshe, go up to Har Havarim, umus bahar asher ata oila sham, and you'll die in the mountain after you look into Eretz Yisrael. I saw in a Sefer Koheles Yaakov, it says umus bahar is the Oises Betruma. It says, why is it Oises Betruma? So we know that Truma is called Rashis. Rashis is the most precious of your crop you give to the Kohen. And Mida Beinanis is 1/50th you give Truma. That's Truma is Trei Mimea, 2 out of 100. The world is 6,000 years. So 1/50 of 6,000 is 120. So Moshe Rabbeinu, the first Rashi in the Torah, Moshe Bereshis, B'Shvil Moshe Shenik Bereshis, Moshe is the Truma of the Olam. He lived 120 years. So that's why Umus Bahar, when he had to die, why at 120? Because he's the Truma of the Olam. And also as a remez, the Gemara says, B'Shagam Hu Basar Yom of Me'av Esrim Shana. B'Shagam is Gematria Moshe. Rashi says that's why he lived 120 years. The Sfarim say another remez, B'Shagam. Besides B'Shagam being Gematria Moshe, B'Shagam, we know the Shechina spoke in Moshe's throat. And B'Shagam, as Rosh Teva is Shechina Medaberes B'Soich Groinoi. And that's also Remes to Moshe Rabbeinu, and that takes us till V'Zayis HaBracha.
All right, Rabbi Martyr is back with us.
Boker Tov. Good morning. Today is Friday, October 7th. Here we find ourselves in these exciting days between Yom Kippur, which was such a beautiful experience for all of us together, and Sukkot, which will begin on Sunday night. We still have a parsha to deal with, Parshat Ha'azinu, which lies in between. And towards the end of the parsha, Moshe, really his final comments to the Jewish people about the Torah and about them, he says to pay attention to everything that he has brought to bear in testimony, to lishmor la'asot kol divrei Torah hazot, to observe and to carry out all the words of this Torah. And then he says these words, Ki lo davar reik mikem, ki hu chayechem. This is not an empty matter from you or around for you, because it is your life. And in this matter of the Torah, you will extend your days on the land to which you are crossing over the Jordan River there to inherit. What does Moshe mean in that interesting tone of the phrase, Ki lo davar reik mikem, it is not an empty matter for you? So I share with you the following teaching, really two teachings that are found. The first is actually Meshach Chochma. Ki lo davar reiku mikem, perush davar sheyuchal lihitrokein mikem. Something I think I got lihitrokein means to become, to empty yourself with, that somehow it just feels void, if I have that correct in what the Meshach Chochma is saying. You know, it's not that. Ki hu chayecha. After all, this is your life. The life of a Jew is about this. It's about living this day in and day out. Hopefully not as a burden, but something which is actually fulfilling and deep. How can a person feel like empty out from life itself? That's the message that Moshe is trying to convey to his people. This is your life. This is what a Jewish person's living is about. These values and this way of being and these expectations. So if you feel that it's empty, then you're saying something about your life itself, and that would be terrible if I have the Meshach Chochma correctly. And then there's another read. It's actually in the Yerushalmi. It's a little bit of a sting, but it's actually something which is just requires us to return to it. Amar Rabbi Mana ki lo davar reiku mikem. Ki lo davar reiku v'im reiku mikem. Not that it's too much, like somehow too empty for you, but rather, if you come across this, you come to your inheritance, this Torah, and you say, I don't know, there's not much in it here for me. So you know what Moshe is saying here? It's not the Torah that has to do the work. It has to do with you. It's mikem. It is from you that you have that perspective. You're not able to appreciate just what richly exists in our Torah. It's because you haven't put you put real efforts into the Torah itself, into living this Torah, into understanding this Torah, and studying this Torah. Or b'nei adam, that's probably what it should be. That teaches you that anything that people actually really place themselves into, if you really give yourself over to it, l'sof mitkayem biyadam, you should know it's going to eventually, you'll have success. You'll have success in feeling the rewards, experiencing the rewards, and experiencing what richly is there. So that's a challenge for us as Yom Kippur has concluded, and we head into the excitement of Sukkot, and then into the time that will follow afterwards to remind ourselves that there'll be times that the Torah doesn't feel so engaging for us. And part of the answer is, if that's what you're feeling, then there's work that you need to do. You need to do to appreciate it more and to understand it more, because there's so much richly there, and it is your life. It is part of your life. Wishing you all Shabbat Shalom and beautiful times in the days ahead.
All right. We did not get to our Parsha report, and I think it's important for us to see this.
Hello and welcome once again to the Parsha Report. This week in Parshas Hazinu, Moses appoints the heavens and the earth as eternal witnesses to observe whether or not the Jewish people will continue to fulfill God's commandments for all time. With us now to comment on this is the earth. Earth?
Hello, I'm the Earth. Yes, the whole wide world. Now you might ask yourself, the Earth has hands? Well, of course I have hands. How am I supposed to drink tea without hands? Now, of course, everything I do has an effect on you, because I'm the whole world. Watch this. Alright, that just collapsed about 500 skyscrapers. But did you know that everything you do has an effect on me? It's true. It deeply affects me at my core, at the center of the earth, which is the center of me, because I'm the earth. One moment, please. Brazil is itching me. Every mitzvah you do has an effect on me. I feel it. For instance, right now, someone right here is respecting their mother and father. And right now, somebody down here is giving tzedakah. Oh, yes, and over here, somebody just didn't steal, which is good. I mean, he didn't steal. He wanted to, but he didn't. This is just an itch I have in Canada right now. Yes. Now, I'll illustrate with a story. The other day I was at lunch with the moon, and there was the moon. He is a conceited, hot-headed braggart, he is, and I'm not afraid to tell him so. For instance, a few centuries back, I remember the moon and I were having a heated discussion, and the moon told me, Earth, you are boring, and I told him, Moon, you are a conceited, hot-headed braggart. And the moon said to me, touche. Anyways, back to the story. The moon and I were having lunch. Well, it started out as lunch, but then I turned around to get a coffee, and then it became dinner, due to my position in relation to the sun. But then I turned back, and it became lunch again. And the moon started bragging, the hot-headed, conceited braggart that he is. And he started saying, oh, I'm so happy, my life is so great. There's no people living on me, no people polluting me, no people littering on me, no people making walls on me. Woo-woo-woo. And I said to him, Moon, there may be people living on me, making walls on me, polluting me, littering me, but those same people can make the decision to do something good. I have people living on me that can celebrate Shabbat, people living on me that can celebrate Rosh Hashanah, which, mind you, is a celebration of my creation. I have people living on me that will take their hard-earned money and give it away to someone less fortunate than them, regardless of how poorly dressed or foul-smelling that recipient may be. And then the moon gave some lame excuse why he had to leave. He had to go get ready for the eclipse or something. And I said, oh, hogwash it. He said, what? And I said, hogwash. It's an expression. I'm not quite sure what it means myself.
Very funny. Very, very funny. All right, let's hear from Harry.
I hope everyone had a meaningful Yom Kippur, and now it's time for Sukkot. My twins have a story for you.
Once upon a time, there was a king, and he had a very large kingdom.
He also had a daughter, and she was very beautiful and smart and had a lot of money because she was the princess, and everybody wanted to marry her.
The princess came from all over the world to marry her. Finally, she chose one and moved away to the prince's kingdom.
Prince's kingdom was far away. It was a full 30-day journey. Arrived there, the prince turned out to be a very bad person, and he was terribly mistreating the princess.
In the meantime, the king missed his daughter. So he planned out a 61-day trip. 30 days to get there, 1 day to stay with her, 30 days to get back.
He announced that he was coming, and before he came, the prince got his act together, and he cleaned everything up, and he set out a nice parade for the king.
The king was very happy and very impressed with the prince until the very end of the day.
When the king had some private time with his daughter, the princess started crying to him about how mean the prince was and how terribly he was mistreating her.
The king said, I don't know what to do, I have to get back to the kingdom.
And then the king said, hey, I have a great idea, why don't you come back and spend the week with me?
The end!
Now don't start asking me questions about the story. Why didn't she divorce him? Why did the king's men beat him up? It's not a story, it's a parable from the rabbis. And it works as follows. The king is God. The princess is each of us. The evil prince is our Yetzer Hara, our evil inclination. It's always trying to convince us to do the wrong thing or not do the right thing. The one-day visit from the king is Yom Kippur. The tears at the end of the day from the princess are the tears that we cry during Ne'ilah at the end of the Yom Kippur service. And the 1 week visit for which the king invites the princess to spend back in his palace in the kingdom is Sukkot, the holiday right after Yom Kippur. But for the parable to work, that means that Sukkot is powerful enough that in a week plus spent in God's palace, so to speak, living out in the Sukkah, you can gain the tactics necessary to coexist with the evil inclination for the entire rest of the year. When we're out in the Sukkah, we remind ourselves that our entire life is a grand illusion. The walls of our house that we think are rock solid, our jobs and our income that we think can never be taken away, our health that we take for granted. Of course, we're going to wake up tomorrow feeling great. None of that's guaranteed. It's all from God. So when you go outside and eat in the Sukkah, or even better if you've never tried it, to sleep in the Sukkah, especially if you're a parent outside sleeping in the Sukkah with your kids, there is nothing else like it in the Jewish religion. Camping, glamping, that's got nothing on Sukkot. On Sukkot, you're glamping with God in His palace, reminding yourself that we are completely in His hands. Do that the right way for a week. Learn those lessons, think those thoughts. And you'll be able to square off afterwards with the evil inclination, saying, are you kidding me? You want me to go chase some fleeting pleasure instead of following God's rules for a meaningful, fulfilling life? You gotta be kidding me. Take on somebody else, buddy. Good luck to all of us, and best wishes for a wonderful Sukkot.
Yes. I did step away. You're right. Here's Rabbi Wilhelm.
Rabbi Wilhelm, Shalom Aleichem. I'm so surprised to see you.
Why are you so surprised?
I mean, I heard of your great davening on Yom Kippur.
How was
the Priyas, the Kavanis. I mamish thought you're going to have a Kalas HaNefesh, and here you are.
Baruch.
You actually made it.
How was your Yom Kippur, your davening?
We're going to find out, like we said before.
Okay, so I think...
B'tzad me, I was really inspired. B'tzad Eibusher, I hope you also was inspired.
I'll tell you, I think it all depends on how you said Al-Chet. There's two ways how people say Al-Chet. One, everybody, we hit your heart, near your heart, yeah, but it's...
Can you show me again how you hit your heart?
Sometimes the heart gets confused, and he thinks it's a collet. It's, hey, do it again. If you don't hit it hard, the heart gets gets egged on. Hey, we like it. Listen, so if he did it with chiyas, he did it with heart, it says, what does that mean? We say things and we don't mean it. So hopefully we all meant it. The Eibishter was Makabel our Tfilis, and every Yid will have a Shana Tov and Masukah. But today is Parshas Hazinu. Parshas Hazinu is a very scary parsha. A very funny parsha also. I have a question to ask all those all the listeners, at the end of every parsha, it says a simon of how many psukim there are. And this week's parsha is 52 psukim. What's the simon? Kelev. Now, in the Art Scroll Chumash, they have Moshe David Feinstein has explanation every week. It didn't talk to me. I'm asking all the listeners from the Parshas Hazinu, which is the Shira Hazois, which is the Rebbe writes. The Parshas Hazinu is the 32nd parak of Dvarim. It's the lev, it's the heart of the whole Chumash Dvarim. 52 psukim, simon kelev. Come on, somebody give me a good answer, please. Anyways, so in the parsha, it's very scary, and it's mikubal that everything that can happen from the time it was said until Achas HaYom is hinted in Parshas Hazinu. There's a very famous story to Ramban, and there's a sikha from the Rebbe Avner, a whole story, beautiful, but everything is hinted, the ups and downs. Now, it's a scary parsha, so I have two short stories, lessons that we should learn from this scary parsha. Story number one, I just heard this, a true story that happened. There was a kid that's a little antsy, and his father fell asleep. So he took the keys of the car from his pants pocket and took a ride. He took a ride with the car, and luckily it was in a Walmart parking lot. And the cop sees a car driving zigzags, and the cop stops the kid. Oh, the kids became all confused. What am I going to do now? And the cop stops him, license and registration, and he sees that he's a 10-year-old kid, a 12-year-old kid. He says, "What's going on?" He says, "My father's in the store. My father's in the store. I just drove in the parking lot." Okay, but the cop was no fool, and the cop says to the kid, "I'll wait over here. Go call your father." What's he supposed to do now? So he goes into the store, and luckily it was one of these Hasidic places where Walmart was loaded with Jews. And he goes over to a Hasidic Yid and he says, please, I have this crisis. I have a cop waiting outside, and blah, 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 blah. You know the story. So the Hasidic Yid says, no way, my license, my insurance. But the kid was really begging, he was really troubled. So the father said, okay, I'll listen. So he comes out, and he's thinking, what's he do? He said, so he comes out, and he starts, right away, he opens the door from Walmart, he starts screaming, "How many times did I tell you not to use my keys, not to drive my car? It's dangerous." That he's screaming like a meshugana. The cop sees that the person is screaming at his kid. He said, "Oh, okay, thank you. Just make sure it doesn't happen again." What's the lesson of the story? If it's a stranger, usually strangers don't scream at strange kids. It's only a father screams at his kid. So at the same time, when you hear Hazinu and you hear all their ups and downs, remember it's because he's your father, and that's why he's your father. He's able to scream at you. You don't go and chastise and educate some other kids off the street. Now we are also in the 4 days that are between.
I thought we were close. You never scream at me.
Yeah, we are in the 4 days between Sukkot, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Everybody knows that yesterday was called Guts Namen because for two reasons. A, the 4 days symbolize the 4 oases of Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and B. I gotta take a breath.
Yeah,
B,
take
because
a sip of coffee.
B, because
take it. Relax. The camera's not rolling. Don't worry.
After many days,
1 second.
After many
take
days
not
saying
Relax.
Hakel HaKadosh, we again say Hakel HaKadosh. I thought about it because we didn't say Hakel HaKadosh. We're so excited to say Shem Hashem, not Yud Kei Vav Kei. Which Shem Hashem? You start saying Hakel HaKadosh. You're saying it's the Dalet Oisius of Hashem Hashem, and you're calling it Guts Namen, and yet the excitement is that you're back to saying Hakel HaKadosh. So I thought about it. This is what we shouted at the end of Yom Kippur: Hashem Hu Elokim. The Rachmim and Gevurah, so you always have to remember it's the same. It comes from the same source. It comes from our Father, the Eibishter. Now, hopefully it's Rachmim. Sometimes the Gevurah, as I mentioned, the rebuke is also only because he's your father. I did see a nice shot that just like it's Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and we're saying Hakel HaKadosh, this season is also Shem Adnai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Why? The Nun is the 50 days from Tishrei B'Av until Yom Kippur. The Yud is the Asara Semei Tshuva. The Daled is the 4 days that is between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and the Aleph is the first day of Sukkot, Rishon, Yom HaRishon, the first day, and it's the first day that we're back to normal now. Ben Zion, the Gemara says, and now we have no time to do mischiefs. Now between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, it's all about mitzvahs. That's why Rishon L'Chesh Ben Avonos, the first time you have to breathe and God forbid think about or falling is only once the dust settles. I know you're running from here to build your sukkah with duct tape and wire and all that.
Scotch tape.
It has to withhold the ruach mitzuyah, so be careful. But anyways, everybody should have a good Shabbos, and all the preparation for sukkah should be good. And remember, these are auspicious time. The last thing, the Dubna Maggid says a beautiful part of this week's parsha, and I'll introduce this with a mushal. The mushal is that a person came to a psychiatrist, says, I got a big problem. He came to a friend, a lawyer, said, a big problem. He came to a lawyer. What's the big problem? I owe so many people money, and I don't know how to get out of it. So the lawyer says, listen, the only thing I can tell you is, anytime they come to your door to collect, make yourself like a mishugana. Start dancing, start walking around, When you do that, hopefully they'll have Rahmanas on you. Sure enough, the next day somebody comes up, knocks on the door, and he starts blah, 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 starts dripping all over. The guy says, oh boy, he leaves. 1, 2, 3 people like that, and they all left and their advice worked. A week later, the lawyer comes knocking on the door because he wants to collect his bill for his service. And he starts dancing. Says, Mister, don't forget that I'm the one that gave you the advice. So the Biederman Maggid says, from this week's Parsha, you forgot. The Eibishter is the one that made you. The Eibishter is the one that created you. The Eibishter is who gave you what you are. He's your father. Don't forget him. We have that in mind, especially in this auspicious time. We will only have good. Kol Tov Selah.
1 second. A word for our sponsor. Who's this over here?
We don't say names, but Fuse. Yeah, Fuse is a very good thing to give yourself more chayas, more light, more energy.
So if you want to infuse yourself with a working home, with an electric home, call this number.
Okay.
Yossi Wolfson.
It's
the
free,
best
free
electrician in New York City.
Free advertising.
Okay. And then an overview of the Parsha with Shazak.
Ha'azinu, a heartfelt song.
Moshe Rabbeinu's set of speeches that began back in the first parsha of the book of Devarim was drawing to a close.
And so was the 120th and final year of his life.
This was it, his last chance to get his message across to the Jewish people, to impress upon them the importance of keeping the Torah.
So he started to sing.
Moshe's song, called Shiras Ha'azinu, comprises almost the entire Parshas Ha'azinu. This song is so special and holy that according to some great rabbis, fantastic blessings are showered upon those who learn Shiras Ha'azinu by heart.
And like any song, it's best to sing it with the correct musical notes, the Ta'amei Nagina.
But Shiras Ha'azinu was not Moshe Rabbeinu's idea. In last week's Parsha, it was Hashem who instructed Moshe. And now, write for yourselves this song. Teach it to Bnei Yisrael and place it in their mouths. The message was clear.
Sing Ha'azinu by heart and take its important lessons to heart.
By the way, the entire Shira and Parsha of Ha'azinu is written in one chapter, chapter 32, which in Hebrew adds up to the word lev, meaning heart.
Coincidence, you say? Perhaps.
Oh, really?
Really? You think so?
Perhaps not.
Ah, the song of his life.
Think about it.
This song that Moshe sings at the end of his life can also be seen as a reflection of his own personal life. Moshe Rabbeinu, throughout his entire life, survived many hardships.
It all began when baby Moshe escaped death by being put into the Nile River.
Then he grew up in the palace of evil Paro.
Later, he ran for his life to Midian.
After many years, he came back to Egypt and bravely stood up to Paro.
In Egypt, Moshe was constantly challenged by his fellow Jews.
In the 40 years of the desert, he was subjected to many complaints, nudging. And at one point, his relative Korach tried to overthrow him.
Get out of the way.
And the list goes on and on.
And on and on and on. Yet, at the end of his life, Moshe was able to look back with satisfaction, as if to say, I have merited to take Hashem's nation out of Egypt, gave them Hashem's Torah, and prepared them to enter the promised land.
What an amazing song!
Challenges.
Challenges.
But the end of Moshe's song was a happy ending, a deep sense of satisfaction.
Exactly like the song of Ha'azinu.
A heartfelt Parsha.
Mazel tov. Mazal tov.
Congratulations.
We just concluded the penultimate...
That's a fancy word for second to last.
Parsha in the Torah, Parshas Ha'azinu. It's an incredible Parsha with incredible lessons. No matter what, through the most difficult and challenging times, the Shira is a message of love.
Love of Hashem to his beloved people, the Jewish nation.
Indeed, Ha'azinu is a short Parsha.
With only 52 Pesukim.
Our Balei Masorah, ancient Torah sages,
had the custom to tell us one Hebrew word or phrase which, when added up, would remind us how many psukim there are in the Parsha.
That special word chosen for Parshas Ha'azinu are the letters Kaf, Lamed, Vez, which can also be read Kelev, like a heart.
So Parshas Ha'azinu is like a heart, signifying the deep love of Hashem.
And there's even more.
The entire Shira and Parsha of Ha'azinu is written in one chapter.
Chapter 32 of Devarim.
Now, add up the letters of the Hebrew word for heart, lev, lamed vez,
and you'll get 32.
If you like this Taste of Shazak Parsha video, you'll love the complete video at shazak.com. You'll also get amazing Parsha quizzers, puzzles, Parsha on a page, and the Parsha post. Use coupon code Shazak for a great discount.
That's it. You got it. All right. And now the Haftarah. This week's Haftarah comes from the book of Samuel. It describes the song that King David composed in his old age, echoing the Torah reading where Moshe delivers his parting words to the Jewish nation in the form of a song. King David's song expresses gratitude to Hashem for saving him from all his enemies. He starts with the famous words, Hashem is my rock and my fortress, and he goes on to describe the pain and hardships he encountered and reiterates that he always turned to Hashem in his moments of distress. The king attributes his salvation to his uprightness in following Hashem's ways. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanliness of my hands, he recompensed me. The song ends with David's expression of thankfulness. Therefore, I will give thanks to you, Hashem, among the nations, and to your name I will sing praises. He gives great salvation to his king and performs kindness to his anointed, to David and his seed forevermore. You know it, right? Yep. David Uzare ad Eilam. All right, there we have it. That's today's Torah portion. Let us go on and say Tehillim for today.
לדוד השם
Chapter 27, David Hashem Ori.
דוד אדוני רואי ואישי ממי אירא, אדוני מעוז חיי ממי אבחד, בקרוב עלי מרעים לכל אספסרי, צורי ואויבי לי, המה כשלו ונפלו, אם תחנה עלי מחנה, לא יירא ליבי, אם תקום עלי מלחמה, בזוס אני בוטח. אך אז שאלתי מעש אדוני, עושה אבקש, שבתי בביס אדוני, כל ימי חיי, לחזוס בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו, כי יצפנני בסוכו, ביום רעה יסתירני, בססר אהלו, בצור ירוממני, ועתה ירום ראשי על אויבי סביבוסי, ואזבחה ואהלו זבחי שרועה. השירה והזמר על אדוני, שמע אדוני קולי אקרא, וחונני וענני. לך אמר ליבי, בקשו פני, אס פניך אדוני אבקש. אל תסתר פניך ממני, אל תת באף עבדך, עזרתי הייסה. אל תתשני, ואל תעזבני אלוהי אישי, כי אבי ואמי עזבוני, ואדוני יאספני. הוריני אדוני דרכך, ונחני באורך מישור, למען שוררי. אל תתנני בנפש צרי, כי קמו בי עדי שקר, ויפח חמאס. לולא האמנתי לירוס בטוב אדוני, בארץ חיים, קווה אל אדוני, חזק ויאמץ ליבך, וקווה אל אדוני.
All right. Tanya in 5.
Tanya.
For the 12th day of Tishrei. From the explanation above about Isrusa de La'ila, the awakening from above, we can understand how that which is lower can nourish that which is higher. In other words, the way an animal is nourished from the lower kingdom of tzomeach, vegetation, and a human being is nourished from the lower kingdoms of tzomeach and chai, vegetation and animal, to the point that even the human intellect is fueled and enhanced by the physical food we eat. Now, this is a manifestation of the concept of or chazer, the rebounded light, where the spiritual light that comes from above is received to the lower levels. Here, in the materiality of the physical world of Asiya, and then is reflected back into the higher worlds with an even greater strength, nourishing all the levels in between. Now, the concept of Or Chozer explains how the malachim, the angels, at the level of Mekava, the chariot, are able to have pleasure and nourishment from the souls of the animals that are offered as karbonos, sacrifices on the altar. It also explains the sublime world of our physical performance of mitzvahs here below, which is the entire reason for our incarnating in this world, just to perform a mitzvah for another. Sorry. All right. We are not going to learn about Shabbos right now, but we are going to learn about Sukkot. It is best today to stop building your sukkah before midday, so you don't get caught being stuck with a project that you can't finish before Shabbos. That's very, very important. Now, according to the letter of the law, a person can eat in someone else's sukkah, but each person should have a sukkah of their own. Now, first, the obligation is for each person to live in a sukkah in the manner where he lives in the house throughout the year, and most people live in their own private homes or apartments during the year. Second, the act of building a sukkah is a mitzvah, and it is considered more of a mitzvah if you build it yourself rather than sending someone else to do it. However, due to the financial constraints upon the majority of us nowadays, it's become customary in many places to erect a large sukkah that holds a number of families at once, like in apartment complexes, right? There's no place to put individual sukkahs. Now, you cannot put your sukkah on somebody else's property without their knowledge and consent. You can't put it on public property. You can't put it in a location. Well, now, you can't put it in public property unless you have permission from the city in which to put your sukkah, which you'll see Chabad sukkahs all over your town, or at least in one place, sometimes by the library, sometimes by City Hall, sometimes they're by a hospital. They have obtained permission. Okay, that's the key over there. You can't place it in a location that'll cause damage to your neighbors. You can't block their windows or block their driveway, for example. All right. Now, if you do, you're not allowed to make the bracha leishev basukah, to dwell in the sukkah, in such a sukkah. That's forbidden. Now, a sukkah in which a person cannot eat, drink, walk, and sleep without pain is not called a place of residence and is not valid for a sukkah. All right. All right. Now, you should complete the walls of the sukkah before you put up the schach. Schach is the covering that you put up on the sukkah. All right. It refers to vegetation, and I have a very, very funny thing over here. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Yeah, here we go. This is very, very cute. You looked up schach in Wikipedia. Somebody did that. It could refer to Schach, the German term for chess. Schach, the material to cover huts for the Jewish festival of Sukkot. Elazar Schach, the rabbi, the Schach, or Gerhard Schach, a Nazi politician. Yeah, thank you, Wikipedia, for that sensitivity. Unbelievable, right? Good old Wikipedia. All right. If you already did the reverse by laying out the schach before building the walls, you should move the schach around after the walls are up in order to make it as if you had just put it up. It has become common to build a sukkah with 4 complete walls because not everyone is familiar with all the minute details and technical halachic requirements that apply to partitions, half walls, 3/4 walls, etc., etc., etc. If you have the wall of a building, you can use that as one of the walls. Now, the walls have to be strong enough to withstand an ordinary gust of wind. Use a canvas if it's possible. Many people say you can't use a canvas because it blows around and the wall should be solid, but the majority of opinions do allow you to use a canvas if it is tied properly. Now, our sukkah is tied properly. Should I show that to you? Yes, I should. All right, here's our sukkah that we put up yesterday. All right, and you can see we do have canvas on it. It's a plastic, but you can see the zip ties all around. The zip ties are all around it, securing it on both the top and the bottom. Okay, do you see that? Yeah. Zip ties on the top and the bottom. So it is very, very, very secure. It's not going anywhere. All right. I'll put it over here for you. All right. We built that yesterday. Yeah. So we've got that there. All right. Now, we put the bamboo sticks on it. All right. And laid the schach on top of it. Now, halachically, any plant material that's no longer connected to the ground is kosher for schach. Bamboo mats, properly constructed and carrying a reliable kosher certification like this one. Metal is not allowed. So you can't go to Home Depot and buy the mats that have the metal holding the mat together because the metal is makabel tumah. It can get, it's subject to impurity, and we don't use that, okay? All right. You can use any plant matter, palm fronds, palm leaves, tree leaves, whatever will be up there and not interfere with you eating in the sukkah. If you are taking plant life that's, going to drip into your soup, it's not advisable, okay? You can also put wood beams up there, all right? You can put some green schach or wood beams in addition for added security, just in case. We've had instances over here where it gets windy and the schach is blown around. So sometimes we have put a wood beam on top to secure it. Now, some have proposed using the schach from bamboo mats. They're designed to prevent rain from entering the sukkah. That is not kosher. If the schach is so thick that the rain cannot enter into the sukkah, it's invalid for the definition of a sukkah, which is supposed to be a temporary lodging. Okay? So that's the point. The Alter Rebbe holds that in the Shulchan Aruch. Now, we place the schach and we cover as much of the sunlight as possible, just making sure that there's enough to get in. What else? The floor of the sukkah. It is not the custom in Chabad to create a floor for the sukkah. Now, if the sukkah is located on grass or dirt, in which case something dripping on it could cause something to grow and it's a violation of Shabbos, yes, then you would put down a mat. Our neighbors, the Grosses, always put down a Persian rug in their sukkah. And we used to put a fan in our sukkah in Florida. Yep. It is not the Chabad custom to decorate the sukkah. We don't put up decorations in the sukkah. There are many people that do, and there is nothing at all wrong with it. The Chabad custom is that we feel that the sukkah itself is so beautiful that the decorating of the sukkah is superfluous, okay? Yeah. All right, and then the Arba Minim, the 4 kinds, the Lulav, the Esrog, the Hadassim, and the Aravos. If you need help getting those, please contact me today as time is running out. It's going to be difficult, but we can still probably get you a lulav and esrog if you need it, but only if you contact me immediately upon seeing this before the holiday, all right? An esrog that was cultivated by a Jew in Israel is not kosher for use on Sukkot this year because it was a Shemitah year. An esrog that was plucked from a tree during Shemitah, even in a permitted manner, carries the sanctity of Shemitah fruit. All right? So the esrog that I got this year, Baruch Hashem, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful esrog. Here you go. This esrog came from Calabria, Italy, where it is said that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, got his esrog from. I know, isn't that cool? I know. All right. Haravos, you can grow your own local haravos. The ones that we get are from Muncie, I think. And we add multiple sets of hadassim in groups of 3. And the more you add, the more beautiful it is. All right. What else can I tell you today? I think that's going to be it for right now. If you didn't recite Kiddush Levana on Yom Kippur because there was no moon, because it was raining, you can do it Shabbos night still, all right? So please do that. And we will learn more about the holiday of Sukkot on Sunday. If you have any questions, please call me, write me, message me, and we'll take care of getting answers for you as soon as possible. All right? Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam, Mitzvah Minute number 142 and 143.
At the time of the exodus from Egypt, Hashem smote all the Egyptian firstborn. In recognition of this, he instituted that from then on, all firstborns that would be born to the Jewish people would be sanctified to Hashem and would have to be redeemed from his property, as it were. Positive mitzvah number 80 is the method by which we redeem firstborn sons. We are to go to a Kohen and give him 5 sloim, 5 silver coins, in exchange for the ownership of our firstborn son. This is called Pidyon Haben. Positive mitzvah number 81 is a similar mitzvah concerning animals. Hashem has instituted that every time one's donkey gives birth to a firstborn male, this firstborn male belongs to the Kohen and must be redeemed from him by giving him a sheep and exchanging and buying back thereby the firstborn donkey. This is called Pidyon Peter Chamor. Yesterday we learned about the mitzvah of Pidyon Peter Chamor, to redeem a firstborn male donkey from a Kohen by giving him a sheep. If one does not wish to do this redemption process, there is a special positive mitzvah, number 82, which dictates that the owner of the donkey must chop off its head and thereby kill it. This is called Arifas Peter Chamor. We now move on to the final topic in the Rambam's book covering the mitzvahs of agriculture, which are the mitzvahs covering Shemitah and Yovel, the 7th and Jubilee years. Positive mitzvah number 135 is that every 7th year we must refrain from working the land. Negative mitzvah 220 is the flip side of this, the prohibition to work the land during the Shemitah year, during the 7th year. Negative mitzvah 221 is that we are also prohibited to work trees during the 7th Shemitah year. And negative mitzvah 222 says that even though we are not working the land, it's very possible that the land might grow things wild on its own. We are forbidden to harvest these aftergrowths, known as sfichim, during the 7th Shemitah year.
All right. And now on to matters of Mashiach. All right. You should not presume that in the time of Mashiach, any facet of the world will change or there'll be innovations in the work of creation. Rather, the world will continue according to its pattern. The Gemara, the Talmud in Brachos, states there'll be no difference between the current age and the Messianic era except freedom from oppressive governments. Now, 2 people can look at the same thing and see 2 very different things. To someone who can't read, a book is merely a collection of ink on paper. To one who knows what the words mean, the entire world opens up before them. Now, our world is Hashem's magnum opus. Every act reflects divine intent in the same way that letters, words, and sentences unite to form the plot of a book. The secrets of the Torah found in the teachings of Hasidus teach us the language of godliness, opening up our eyes to the wonders that were always there, but we could never understand before. Now, the statement of the sages that there is no difference means there is no real difference between nature and a miracle. Nature is something that happens again and again. A miracle is simply something that we've never experienced, something that we think is impossible. At the core of both is an infinite divine reality. We continue to expand our knowledge. We uncover that divine reality by doing that. And that in turn will unlock an ever-growing possibility until the miraculous truly becomes mundane. I know, right? It's so cool. All right, our PSAs. All right, must be a soup kitchen and food pantry. They are there for you in your time of need. All right? You can get them by texting the word food to 879-726-879. Now, did you know that before the Torah scroll was put back into the ark, there's a special prayer for all of those who sponsored wine for Kiddush and challah for the meal to feed the poor? Yep. It's in the Mishaberach that's said by all of us during the Shabbos service. Mishaberach havasem v'yayin l'kiddush l'avdolu pas l'orchim. All right? As part of Masbia's high holiday goal, the meals for the upcoming Shabbos has its own team, and you can choose to sponsor a Friday night dinner or the Shabbos lunch at each of the Masbia locations in Flatbush, Borough Park, and Queens. If you would like to do that, I've got a link that you can click and sponsor that. And of course, they will take your name and they will say the Mishaberach with your name included. In Rockland County, it's tomcheyshabbos.org. In Lakewood, it's tomchey.org. In Chicago, it's the Chicago Center Kitchen at breakfastwithelli.live/Chicago Food Bank. And a master list was just compiled from Yeah, That's Kosher at breakfastwilly.live/soup kitchens. Now, if you need anything else, the organization Achiezer is there to take care of it for you. They will be glad to help you out, and they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, as is Hatzalah, hatzalah.org, hatzalah.org. You can copy these numbers down, but you can look up the Hatzalah in your neighborhood. If you don't have one, if you can't find it on their website, then please contact them, contact me, and we'll make sure that you get a Hatzalah organization started over there. Miss Askim, started by the late Rabbi Yankee Meir. No relation. We were at Sinai together. They are there if you need to cope with a tragedy, and they're fantastic. They're just fantastic people. The chesed, the kindness that they do is just unbelievable. All right. Also, the organization JustOneShabbos.com. JustOneShabbos.com is dedicated to bringing youth back to the beauty of keeping Shabbat. If you are, God forbid, the victim of or see a hate crime in progress, you need to call 911, even on Shabbos, even on Yontif. And the warnings are still out there. We're not out of the woods. There are still some variants. There are still some things going on. So please continue to wear your mask when you're out in public. All right? And get your vaccinations. Stay up to date with your vaccinations. That is the key to ending this stupid thing. All right? All right. Let's bring some heaven down. Great things are not what is demanded from our generation. The previous generation did all that for us. We only need to do the small things, but in a more difficult time. For us, self-sacrifice could be Nothing more than a simple change of habit. Yep. Did I have his outlook about that? So incredible, so positive, so great. All right, come talk to me on social media at Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, or at theactorsrabbi.com. And at theactorsrabbi.com, we have life coaching services available. If you need to talk to a professional, it's there. All right.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesronan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim.
Nish gedai Yidden, don't worry. Hashem is going to take care of us. And Avram Fried is going to sing Nish Gedai Yidden for us in just a minute. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope that you are getting ready these 4 days before Sukkot. We're actually 2 days before Sukkot now. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Pespro Riddle, Tarzane Orchids, Dina D Design, Dr. Susan Spitzer, Bracha Biederman. You can become a sponsor today by going to patreon.com or theactorsrabbi.live. Patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar. All right, Sukkot on Sunday night. I know, Sunday's a big day. Lots of laws about Sukkah and Lulav and Esrog. Don't forget to come back, okay? We got a lot to talk about. Candlelighting tonight is at 6:10. Shabbos will end tomorrow night at 7:07. 6:10 and 7:07. Excuse me. Have a wonderful Shabbos. You're welcome. I will see you on Sunday. We've got a lot to talk about. So bring somebody or 10 people or 20 people with you, and we'll talk all about it. Shabbat Shalom. A guten Kvittel, as they say. I will see you on Sunday. Love you all. Enjoy Avram Fried. Mwah.
A scheinem Cholem hab ich gesehen in Beis Hamikdash bin ich gewesen Kohanim zenen makriv korbonos Levim singen Shir HaMalois Moshe Rabbeinu lernt mit Yovois Die Sanhedrin sitzt und hört an den Teure. Ahadna koyein sind der Meneure. Und not seh ich a herrlichen Gesicht. Es scheint sein Pony mit a göttlichen Licht. Auf sein Kopf a goldenem Kiroin. Hier der kenne mich schon, das ist der Melech HaMoshiach, allein. Der ganze Olam steht mit Meure, ist megale soides a teure. Und von Schlaf hab ich sie Hoy kecha Hoy nicht gedei gedieden es wird schon bald kein Cholem mehr nicht sein a minut gelegen geblieben Moshiach und Mekabel von ihm sein I see you care with free schon bald kein Cholem mehr nicht sein. Am Minut geblieben, Moschiach und Mekabel Polen sein. Ai, 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 Schicker mit Frei, gesunder Heim. Gehen wir alle heim, zurück im Cheder, gehen mit Mäuschen allein. Oh, meine Weh, oh, A schönem Cholem hab ich gesehen, in Jerusalem angekommen. Sie sagt mit frei, Bruch im Haboim, der lebt zu sehen, dein lichtigen Ponim. Ich hab gehad a so viel Zauber Gidl-Bonim. Gott, du hast gewandert, 1000 Jahren. Ei, bist du mein Teierkind, noch schöner geworden. Und noch seh Malochim gehen, sie finden mit Anliegen den Beschäfer allein. Gekommen neu für der Welt, ach, Chuppe hat man gestellt, sein lieber Kalle, Hiden alle, Mekadisch sein. Zadig im Tanzen mit den Chosen, es ist schon gerechter so das Liviosen. Und von Schlaf hab ich sich aufgehabt. Nicht gedeiht ihnen, es wird schon bald kein Cholem mehr nicht sein. Am Minutke geblieben, Moschiach und Mekabel Polen sein. Oi, 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 Schicker mit Freude, gesunder Heim. Gehen wir alle heim, zurück im Cheder, gehen mit Mäuschen allein. Oh, mein Weh, oh, 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 mein. Ai, 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 nicht gedeiht ihnen, es wird schon bald kein Cholem mehr sein. Am Minutke geblieben, Moschiach und Mekabel Polen sein. Ai, 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 Schicker mit Frei, ai, gesunder Heim. Gehen wir alle heim, zurück im Cheder, gehen mit Mäuschen allein. Oh, mein Weh, oh, mein Freila!
Right before Shabbos arrives, I'm getting a text, Shabbos is coming, with so much warmth, it changes my life.
This is a short new lesson. It strengthens and renews our connection.
They truly enhance my Shabbos. Thank you, Reb Avi.
Every Friday, Dad gives me a lot of chizuk. This is a great opportunity I should have taken earlier.
The parsha begins this week. Emor.
Shabbos is early. Don't be late. Text or WhatsApp your zip code to 732-785-4164 for your weekly candle lighting reminder. A free service of BP Print Group.
Ay, 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 good Shabbos. Ay, 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 Shabbos Kodesh.